from the best about the business side of the food service industry. You make food, then let us help you make money doing it. Want to connect with us? Check us out at Make Food Make Money on Instagram or Facebook, or email us info@businesschef.org. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Business Chef Podcast. I am Chef Sean Boucher. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And thanks for making us a part of your week. We really appreciate it. And you know who else we appreciate? ClickLease. ClickLease.com. If you haven't checked them out, you need to. Get your equipment financing immediately. Get approved. Find out what you can spend. Find out if you can get what you need, because we all need something. And chances are ClickLease can help you. So go check them out. Today's a little different. We haven't done one of these for a little while, but we wanted to take a minute to address something that I'm seeing more often than not. And what is that? Designing, building, remodeling kitchens. I see a trend happening, and I want to bring this up because I think that there's a lot of people out there listening that think, well, I can operate in a silo. I can continue to run restaurants. I can continue to run hotels, hospitals, whatever it might be. And I don't really need to know some of the design and the architecture kind of stuff. So I'm going to tell you about an experience that I had this week, and I've had more often than not. This is just kind of a general experience that I have a lot. And that is, I go into a client, I go into a customer, and I talk to them about design, about what they're looking for in their department or in their operation. And in talking to them, I find out that they kind of have a vision, but they kind of don't. And a lot of times they just want me to help them or tell them what they should do. And that's fine. That's what I'm there for. But what happens when you go to design a kitchen or you design a space that you really don't know much about, or you know that you want to make it useful, you know what you need generally, but you don't know what you need specifically, because that's kind of how it works. And this is the issue that I'm seeing, and in my opinion, I think this is where we as chefs or operators can become very useful. And I mean, the bottom line is that we need to become multifaceted. We need to have an understanding of a lot of things, not just cooking, not just managing, but also how things work in our spaces. Because what I'm finding is that chefs and operators don't always know very much, if anything, really, about the spaces that they're in. They don't know a whole lot about construction or electricity or plumbing or things that directly affect them. And I think if you want to make yourself very valuable in this business, you need to know something about those things, because more often than not, our kitchen cooking equipment involves electricity or gas or plumbing of some sort. And if we have no understanding of that, then number one, it's difficult to fix or to tell someone what we need fixed. And if it's difficult to do that, then we're going to pay more money to have somebody come out and diagnose it, etc., etc. So here's what I'm saying, is that a lot of times when I come in on a design project, a new construction build or a renovation of some sort, 25% of my time is trying to fix things, to make it flow better, to change out some of the equipment that might not be quite as user-friendly as what's spec. Because here's what happens when designers and architects are brought in, even along with equipment dealers, and a chef or an operator doesn't have an understanding of what they want or They're not very specific on things. What ends up happening is you end up getting whatever the designer or architect or equipment dealer wants you to have. And those things are not always in your best interest. Number one, because those people all have relationships with whatever equipment they're putting in there. They might have connections or relationships with manufacturers that are telling them to put those certain pieces of equipment in there. They might have, some type of program where they're getting rebate dollars for putting, or spec credits or whatever it might be for putting certain pieces of equipment in there. And that's fine. That's how the business works. But if you as an operator are getting pieces of equipment into your building, your space, your organization, that one, you don't know how to use, or two, you don't understand why it's there or why it was placed where it was, that's kind of your own fault. Now, granted, in bigger organizations, some of those decisions are made higher up the chain, years in advance in some cases, but the reality is that at some point, an operator, somebody who's there all day, every day, needs to be involved in these decisions. They need to be the ones driving what some of these purchases are. So here's what I'm telling you. In my opinion, I think that we as operators need to be more educated on certain things that are out there. We need to be knowledgeable about what equipment and what technology is out there, so that we're making our restaurants, our food service establishments, whatever they might be, the most effective as possible. But to do that, we have to educate ourselves. We have to kind of step outside of our comfort zones and go to food shows or go to equipment demonstrations or whatever it might be. But I think that's how we can differentiate ourselves a lot of times too, because the majority of people in this business don't have any understanding of that at all. They think that spacing things out and, we'll let the architects worry about making sure that everything is ADA compliant, or making sure that we have hand sinks where they need to be, or any number of things, when in reality, the architect puts it in there, but guess what? They wash their hands of it when the project's done and they move on. And we're the ones who are operating in that space who then have to walk around things that are put in the middle of spaces where they shouldn't be, or we're the ones who end up having to get things fixed when they break down, or we're the ones who end up trying to create menus and have menu offerings from equipment that we don't understand the capabilities of, or that we're not used to, and therefore we don't necessarily live up to our potential. So if you really want to drive your business forward, in whatever business that might be in, have an understanding of the tools that you're working with, have an understanding of what's possible, so that when those tools need to be replaced, or when something breaks, know what you can replace it with, know what your capabilities are to be able to not only replace that, but get something that is the best possible scenario for you and your operation on an ongoing basis, because we have to live with it all day, every day. It shouldn't be the designers and the architects and the equipment dealers and whoever else is involved telling us what we need and what we should have. It should be us telling them what we want and what we should have, and then having them build those things according to what we are going to need on a consistent basis. I see it too many times when I go into restaurants, especially small independent restaurants, where you can tell that they don't know much about the equipment that they have. They might know how to work it generally, but they don't know that there's other better options out there, or they just go online and they buy the cheapest thing possible, and then they don't understand why they're having problems with the oven door after a month, or why something's breaking after 3 months or 6 months or whatever it might be. So if you really want to be valuable, not only to yourself, but to whatever organization you're working with, have some understanding of design and electrical and plumbing and all these different aspects that make up all the things that we work with every day. Because once we have an understanding of that, not only are we going to be much more valuable to the organizations that we're a part of, but we're going to be able to design better kitchens. We're going to be able to have much better outcomes because we will be totally invested from day one. That's my opinion, and I'd be curious to hear what yours is on this subject. Special thanks to ClickLease for taking care of us for the last few months. We appreciate the support. Go check out clicklease.com. And hey, when it comes to that equipment, know what you want and go into it knowing what you want. But go check out ClickLease and get the financing you need to get that equipment that you want. Thanks everybody for listening. Cheers. See you next week. Thanks for sticking around. Be sure to share this podcast with your friends, family, co-workers, or anyone who's interested in making food and money. And when you get a second, give us a review. It really helps us get the word out as well as letting us know how we're doing. Want to connect with us? Check us out at Make Food Make Money on Instagram or Facebook. Or email us, info@businesschef.org. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. Go check out the new book, Food People Management, by me.